Thank you for staying with us. Let's now shift our attention to the just concluded African Cup of Nations, which concluded yesterday with Senegal beating Egypt in the final 4-2 on penalties to take the coveted crown for the first time in their history. And we are joined by Ifreke Inyang. He is the sports editor at Daily Post. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me, Victor.
I'm sure it must have been like a busy 3 weeks for you, monitoring games, writing stories, feeling or experiencing a heartbreak at a particular time, just like all of us Nigerians. But I mean, what was it all? What was the whole event? What was the experience generally?
I'm going to speak from the point of view of a Nigerian, first and foremost, that we go into the competition without much expectation. We didn't think we were going to do a lot because of what happened prior to it. You know, we sacked General Rapp 2 weeks before. Eguava took up the team as an interim, and then players were withdrawing from injuries and club issues, and so we didn't think a lot was going to happen. And then we go ahead and beat Egypt in our first game. We beat Sudan. We didn't just win these matches. We played some convincing, attacking, expressive football, and we began to have hope. And just when we thought that we were now favorites to win the competition, we're out in the round of 16 against Tunisia, which was devastating for people that did not have
the complete
hope.
team.
Yeah, no, that didn't have hope coming to the competition.
Okay.
It was a funny thing. Then we managed to stick around, watch the rest of the competition with all the intrigues, the drama, the heartbreaks, the extra time, the penalty shootouts, and it was a worthy competition for the African continent, a good advertisement of African football. It was a lovely, well done to Cameroon for hosting a good tournament this year.
Any surprise for you during the tournament?
I'll go for, I would have done the debutant, Comoros, who came out from a group that had Gabon and Morocco and Ghana. Ghana left the competition in the first round, in the bottom of that group, But I was mildly surprised by Burkina Faso, who almost got to the finals of the competition, if not for Cameroon that eliminated them, and how far they came and type of football, how they were brave, in their football. But I was also impressed by Comoros and Cape Verde, some of those debutants that basically sent the heavyweights home,
Yeah, so but there was a lot of hype, around some players, prior to the game or prior to the competition, rather. Hala, for example, we thought we didn't. For me, I didn't even think Abubakar would be the top scorer, so to speak. No, with all due respect. I mean, I was looking at other players, that were hyped before the competition. But was there any surprise player for you in all of this?
Well, yes, you've mentioned Vincent Abubakar, and I think it was such a star of the tournament, because if you look at the semi-final game against I forgot who they played against. Egypt. No, not Egypt.
Cameroon.
Cameroon, the third place match, Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, that's the third place.
They were leading 3-0, and then he started the game on the bench, and then he came on and scored twice. So by the 90th minute, it was 3-3, and they went to penalties, and they won. He was such a huge star from the first game. He was scoring twice. So I think he finished with 8 goals, which has never happened before in the history of the competition. But before the competition, we're looking at people like Mohamed Salah, like Sadio Mane, to Riyad Mahrez. But somehow Abubakar came and just stole the show. And I think at this point of his career, which maybe is a late bloomer, he might be in line for a big move to the Premier League.
Well, I really want that to happen. Because I'm looking at it. So some things also happen. One of the officiating also, we had only one Nigerian referee, an assistant referee. And I'm thinking Nigeria is such a powerhouse, in terms of sports, and we have only one referee in the competition. I mean, what does that really say about?
I think it's similar to what is happening with England. If your officiating is terrible in your own league, there is little or no chance that you're going to get that recognition on the continent or worldwide. That's what basically happened. And our officiating has been very dodgy. I mean, we need to talk about the MPFL, where most of these referees work, and the quality of officiating, and the drama and the controversies that surround some of these home games, especially. And then you do not expect that when you keep turning out those bad performances, then it comes on the continent, you want to be invited. But having said so, I didn't think that all the officials at the AFCON were excellent, you know. Are we going to talk about Gianni Ziscasque, who ended the game like 3 times, you know, and said God asked him to do that? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, he was suffering from a heat stroke. But it was the most ridiculous thing that happened in a tournament that the world was watching. You know, and at this tournament, for instance, we had 13 red cards, which is much more than the last 4 tournaments combined. So even the officials that went were a bit excited. So at the end of the day, at the World Cup, when we don't see African referees, which is now the biggest stage, why were we going to complain if they didn't impress us when it was on their home soil? So that's how it works. If you do, charity begins at home, basically. If you do well on your own top, then you get bigger chances on a bigger stage.
How exciting was it, you know, we had female referees as well?
Yes, very good for African football that we are able to break this mold, and you know, I mean, it's already happening in other continents, especially in Europe. Even in Europe top 5 leagues, you know, have a lot of female officials just, you know, doing their thing and just coming up. So it's good that African football has embraced female referees, and long may it continue.
How do you think? I mean, how would you rate their performances?
Generally, officiating at the AFCON.
Yeah, like the females who took part.
Yeah. The females, I don't know. I think they tend to, maybe because there are not a lot of them, but they tend to. So the sample space is a bit small, but I think they tend to perform better than the males. So I think they did excellently well. I would say they did excellently well.
So I mean, just as we wind down now, you know, the whole thing, you know, Senegal, Egypt, there was a lot of tension. Mane missing a penalty in the 7th minute or thereabout, you know, and the whole game just had its own ups and downs and all of that. We took us to penalties. Did you see that coming? Did you see? And we all felt Egypt were going to win since they had gone into penalties, and we saw how El Hadari was all around Gabaski trying to cheer him up, you know, give him that big brother feeling like, oh, I'm here, you know, you can do this and all of that. But I mean, hey, things just turned out the way most people didn't expect.
We expected an exciting final because Senegal were going to come, and basically that's what played out. I think if Mane was able to convert that early penalty, we would have seen a much more open game. But immediately missed that. It's like the Egyptians tightened up at the back, and it was just waves and waves of attacks from the Teranga Lions, and they met a brick wall, or the fantastic goalkeeping of Gabaski. You know, so I think Mane missed a trick in that early part of the game where he would have opened it up, and then it would have been front to end for both sides. Having said so, I think it's typical of a final to end 0-0 and go into 120 minutes, especially in the African continent, and then go to penalties. The big surprise being that we thought that it's penalties, Egypt are going to get their 8th title. But Mendy, who we'd never rated for penalties, comes up trumps and he just saves one, and then Senegal are champions for the first time in their history, which was really incredible.
Congratulations to them. And lastly, as we go, the tournament awards, how would you say, I mean, were you surprised by those who won?
I think they're controversial. I don't think Sadio Mane should have been player of the tournament. That was clearly Vincent Abubakar, MVP. Goalkeeper of the tournament wasn't Edouard Mendy, was Gabaski. Then I think Abubakar took the 3rd award. So I think those 2 awards that went to the Senegalese were a bit dodgy. I don't know why and how they decided on that, but other people deserved it.
Maybe because they won the competition. But then, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Analyzing all of these issues. Ifreke Inyang, sports editor at Daily Post. It's a pleasure always to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Well, that's where we are, and we're going to leave you with the most videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Mathias.